That was my father. He was murdered. I'm Gina Gingello. I'm Sammy G, Gingello's daughter, and I'm chatting with Stacks.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Gina Gingello.
You know, and so he said to her, he goes, I'll cut his off. Not literally, but she put in her book. Now, my father, they treated her good, took care of her from when she was a kid, didn't know her. She put in her book that was the day she looked in the eyes of a cold-blooded murderer. So I called her up. I go, are you kidding me? I said, any minute guy, if somebody violated me like that, I said, would have said this and that. So I put in my book a story that I was in a situation and my friend Peter Delafave knew that this bottom door shouldn't have been locked. So as Peter's going to kick in the door, the person that was trying but did not have their way with me, Peter knew by the look on my face and me running out the door. He grabbed the guy by his throat, yoked him up, and choked him until the guy couldn't breathe anymore and was gasping for air, and then just dropped him onto the porch. And dropped him onto the porch. So I tried to explain to her, he wasn't going to literally cut off his. The guy would have got a good beating because it was her sister's husband.
I mean, people that do that to women should get their cut off. I think.
Right. She was a kid. And that's when I brought her to my home. She brought her granddaughter. I had the table filled with food and everything. So I tried to, because when her book came out, my kids were in school, and they told her how it affected them, you know, how people were talking. So I told my children that my father died in a car accident. And then at the appropriate ages, I sat them down when people started talking, and then told them the whole truth. Yeah. But when the book came out, and she's calling him a cold-blooded murderer. After this man took care of you, he didn't even know you. He could have ate his sandwich, let these two guys hit on you and your cousin, not get involved at all.
A lot of people do that type of stuff for a money grab, and it's for attention.
That's what I said to her. So now we just did a book signing last year at Red Fideli's with Blair County. She private messaged me because she read my book, and she goes, now I finally understand. You know, I'll fight for my father's good name till my last dying breath. Just like I'm fighting, I don't care if you're dead or alive. Who murdered my father? Somebody's name has to really be named. I know who did it. They basically, the one told me who did it, because I know he would have done the same for me.
But in the eyes of the law, there's never been anyone arrested or convicted of his murder.
No, they did this. I don't know if you could see it. They did this thing in Rochester. Could you read it?
Crime Stoppers. Oh, Crime Stoppers. Yeah.
Yeah, Crime Stoppers. But it's the deck of cards.
Yeah, they got those in prison here in Connecticut.
Oh, so this was the first batch. They did my father. So our news asked if they could interview me, and they go, where do you want to be interviewed? I go, at the cemetery. So we were interviewed at my father's, with the mausoleum he's in. And I also found out, which I'm going to do also because they deserve respect too, that these are all unsolved murders in Rochester, along with my father, that people need to understand that was my father. He was murdered. I want to know, just like all these people in this deck of cards want to know who murdered their loved ones.
Where's the man that you think murdered your father now?
Right now, Dominic Sunday Celestino is dead, and he died blind and alone in a nursing home. Frank Fraschetto, which he's in my book too, that I interviewed him at the public market because he has a stand there. It was he went to prison, and then his sons took it over, and then now he just works there. And he was trying to blow me off until I said, okay, Now I'm going to start talking in front of your customers. Then we went out into the middle of the market. So I asked him, I says, why? What did my father do to you? Because he brought a briefcase into the Blue Gardenia and put it near the payphone. And then he was to make the call for then he was going to be walking away. Because my father had his own booth at the Blue Gardenia, had the red phone underneath the booth. So he always had a phone on his table to make the phone call. And then the briefcase was supposed to explode. Don't care about the other patrons in the restaurant, by the way. But the guy was on the phone with some broad and wasn't picking up the phone. So I asked Frank Fraschetto, I go, what did my father do to you? He goes, nothing. Your father was a good man. I said, then I don't understand. He said, well, you had to pick a side. I said, so you picked a side with the idiots? With the scumbag, the wannabes? But my father never did anything to you.
He thought your dad was never getting out of prison. That's
no, this was after he got out of prison and they were trying to take him out. Yes, the B team thought that these guys were never getting out. They were sentenced 25 years to life. So when the 15-month mark hit and Detective Marks came forward, they were immediately released from prison. We were waiting for them at the federal building and then went to the oh my God, it's the Holiday Inn now, right next to the federal building, State Street. The Americana it was called at that time, the Americana. And there was a big freaking party. Big freak. That's where I put in the book. That's the only time I didn't mind sharing them. I sat at a cocktail table. He was at the bar. He had a big smile on his face. He was laughing. He was talking. And he kept on turning around like, are you okay? And I was just like, enjoy yourself. You deserve it, you know. But I stayed there with him the whole time because I was always with him. And he had me involved, of course, to a certain point, you know. I think we would have made a hell of a team if things worked out differently.
Yeah. And maybe you would have been the only female maid member.
Well, Tom Murata always says to me, and he goes, I thank God you were born. Oh, thank God you were born a female. And I go, now is that a compliment or an insult? I'll take it as a compliment.
You probably would have been involved with the life if you were.
I probably would have been. I still go to the joints. I still, you know, it's a different atmosphere. Who's got their canes or who's walking a little slower now, but I just love, and I hear the old stories over and over and over again, and it's like I'm hearing them for the first time.
Is there any other old stories that you can tell me that you've heard about your dad after he passed away?
No, they basically were all the same and all good. I mean, as outsiders, Tom Murata loved my father unconditionally. He was very loyal to him, and he stayed loyal to this day. It basically everything's, and my phone's gonna go again. Basically, everything's in the book that because I wanted the truth about everything and everything that I knew and that people had told me. There are, let me put it this way. Yes, there are some stories, but I was asked by somebody that told me a few stories that no, I could not put it in the book and speak of, because there's certain people still living. Even though they're very old, you still have to respect that they're still living. I could just say what
they respectfully pass away, then you'll be able to tell the story.
Yeah, somebody has passed away that, you know, but you know, I'm like, you know, at this stage of the game, who's going to get in trouble, you know, but I was told, you know, certain things. So someday all that will come out. Someday those handful of stories that are very interesting will come out.
After your father passes away, where does your life go? And what do you do with your life?
My life was, I was a rebel without a cause. I didn't know who wanted to be my friend because, well, he had taken me to Bishop Kearney for me to register. So from St. Philip Neri, I went to Bishop Kearney. So I was still in the 8th grade when he passed away, and then went to Bishop Kearney. So it was sort of, you don't know who your friend, who wants to be your friend, who wants to know you. Some kids couldn't be my friend. Yeah, it was kind of hard. It was kind of hard, but you find your way. you find your way. I found my way. I have 4 beautiful children. They're all grown. They have their homes, and I have 8 beautiful grandchildren. I'm very blessed. And I didn't bring my kids up in that lifestyle, but when questions were asked, I told them the truth. They were at my original book signing and at other book signings. They have participated. I kept my kids in sports, cheerleading and football, baseball. We were always on a field.
So where can the people get your book, and what's in store for you for the future?
To buy the book, they would have to private message me right now. Amazon was supposed to be set up and there was a little blip in it. So I've had some health issues, so I had to put everything on hold. But now that I did the interview with Jake Bishop and yourself, me and Ted Musin, he had contacted me a couple years back on Messenger, and he was in Jersey at the time. He's originally from Rochester, now he's back. And he goes, what about all the other kids and people with the stories and the this and the that? And I said, well, I wrote my book. You could write yours. I said, I could give you the little bit of knowledge I know about writing a book. I learned some things. I said, but I'm not an expert or whatever. So I said, and concerning the other kids, so we're just collaborating at the moment, that we're going to start off with his story. We're trying to get in touch with the original A-Team's children and see if they would like to participate, how their life was when their fathers went to prison, how their lives were after their fathers were released. Some fathers passed away in prison. In
that 15 months?
No, not in the 15 months. They came home, and then they all went back 25 years to life. So that's what we're doing at the moment. We're gathering up pictures and getting in contact with people. Some people are thinking about it, because writing the book, it was therapeutic. It was a roller coaster ride. It was very emotional at times. They have to decide if they'd like to go through that. I had always said I was going to write a book. I had this 14-year-old little girl inside me that she needed a voice. So once I wrote the book and it came out, she's been quiet ever since, that little 14-year-old girl. She finally got her voice. And I was the only one that would be able to give her voice, and I gave it to her. I don't know how these other people are going to feel. I hope that they're going to join in. And I think it will be a phenomenal book, but who does, who doesn't, and it's their choice. Regardless, I think it's going to be a fantastic book.
Yeah, let me know. I can have multiple people on here at the same time, so I can have you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you could get 2 other people or something, I could have 4 people. I can have up to 20.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. I'll leave a link for your Facebook so people can reach out to you and get the book. And if people reach out to me, I'll just funnel them right to you for the book.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Do you sell signed copies of the book?
Yes. That's what, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's signed, and whoever you want it signed to.
Is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to before we go?
Tom Murata, Jake Bishop, Ted Musin, that came up with this idea for a second book. Everyone that's left me, that rest in peace. My cousin Tony, I miss him. I miss him dearly. My partner in crime.
If you like this show, so you can get my videos every time they drop, and if you don't like this show, too bad. Start your own podcast. Peace.
All right, yeah.